Good evening, Jack. Tonight is one of those nights when it's going to be so nice to sit. I just sat down like, oh, man, do I have to wait for everyone or can I just start sitting? Sometimes, like I said, we don't sit to become calm and relaxed, but that's a good side effect sometimes. And right now, that would be a good side effect. Hey, Mats. Moin. Moin. Is that Finnish for Moomintrollen? Every Swedish person knows tornado in the south. Of Sweden? Or do you mean America, right? In the US, I think they have a hurricane that hit Florida just now, if I'm not completely wrong. This lag is so strange. When it goes, like I talk and then there's 20 or 30 seconds before you guys hear it. Miami goes by. Oh, really? Is it that bad? Oh, sorry to hear that. I hope none of us are living in Miami. I just saw that something was going to happen. I haven't followed it that closely. Oh, that's scary. I used to be an exchange student in Louisiana, Slidell, Louisiana, many years ago. And I remember we had hurricanes come in every now and then. One time there was a tornado that hit the school while we were in it, but it was not that strong, but it started throwing around stuff against the windows. I think like a window broke or something, so it was not really serious. It's Northern German for hello, but some Danish dialects use it too, and also Finnish, yeah. Moin. And they say that Ohio is bad. Hey, Mindful Mama. I had a discussion with someone recently that I thought it was an interesting thing. So he's one of my students and he asks, I don't get it. What am I supposed to do? I'm not understanding it. And I thought that was such a good way of putting it. And it highlights one of the issues with what we're trying to do here, because a lot of people get into understanding the self, or doing what we do here, which is basically breaking down the sense of self, and they go into it with the idea that they need to figure something out or understand something. I think this comes a lot because many teachers like to sell the idea that I can teach you something. I mean, you are probably here because you want to learn something or you want to get deeper into your practice somehow, and there's nothing that I or anyone else can really teach you. It's really that you need to look by yourself, and I don't want to use the word understand, but it's not that you're going to figure something out. The day you understand that, oh, wait a minute, the exterior stimuli and what happens inside do not directly correlate to how I feel. I can actually choose how I feel, and I can choose enjoyment, and I can choose not being happy about my circumstance, but being happy about my experience of my senses. That's something that you can intellectually understand, but it's not going to change much. But when you feel it, when you live that, then something really big happens, because then you shift your awareness. So I just thought about it, how a lot of people focus so much on understanding knowledge, and they learn text and they try to understand all these things, and ultimately, I mean, that doesn't really make any difference. If that was true, then everyone who was a theologian and understand all these, or who know all these scriptures, they would be enlightened, and they're not. I mean, at least I haven't met anyone. Maybe there is someone who isn't. I just haven't seen them. So it was just a reflection when we started out, because I had that conversation earlier with one of the clients, and he was frustrated that he couldn't understand it, and it's such a understandable thing to do. And I remember myself when I tried to really get all of this stuff. I was reading books and I was listening to audio tapes, and I was trying to find something, and then you find that line in the book and you go, whoa, I get it, and you feel amazing. You let go of all of this me, you, like everything's fine, I don't need to do anything, and you just feel incredible just being. And then the day after, that kind of changes 2 days after. You don't feel that same sense of, oh, I don't need to do anything. Like now, all of a sudden, you feel suffering again. And you go back to the book and you read those lines. You're like, maybe it was moonlight. Maybe it was a special light. Maybe I said some incantations. Maybe I did a special prayer. And we think that it was that line that changed our perception, but it was actually something else. It just helped us point towards that. And it let you allow yourself to experience reality that way. But it's not really that you understood anything. Sometimes it goes together with intellectual understanding, but it's a distortion drop, an emotional drop. You drop some kind of push and pull that you have towards the world around you. So yeah, just a random thought that came up. Let's see, Jack, do you have any like thunderstorm gods in Sri Lanka? Just Thor. Hey Andreas. Hey Christian. Sri Lanka have it's very interesting when you go to a Sri Lankan temple. They have usually around a Bodhi tree or something, they'll have these shrines, and they have on one side they have the Buddha statue, on the other side they have Shiva, Vishnu, and all the Hindu gods, and then on the other one they have Mother Mary and Jesus Christ, and then on the fourth wall, I don't know if they have anything else. I can't come up with anything right now. They probably throw in some other symbol of religion. And their idea is basically that since Buddhism isn't really a religion and you don't need to pray to the Buddha, I mean, it would be really strange to pray to the Buddha because he's not a deity in that way. So people then think that, well, I have nothing to lose. I may as well like have these other deities as well. So they're very open to other religions in general. And but no thunder god that I know of. Maybe there is one that I've missed, but except for Thor, I don't think they have anything else. Nice. So let's see, Thursday, yes, sitting. Any questions before, or is it, if you want to, we can just start the sitting. I have nothing that comes up except for that thing with understanding. I'm feeling better. I was sick in the beginning of the week, but now it's starting to feel much better. So I'm enjoying myself, getting up and moving about, just a bit tired, but that's fine. And it's also together with what we said before. It's just because you're sick doesn't mean you can't enjoy your senses. Your circumstances are bad, but your enjoyment of being alive and just feeling, touching, hearing, smelling, and doing all those things, that's still enjoyable, even though there's painful things that you experience. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy being. Cool. I think we'll just start with the sitting. Nice. I've really been looking forward to sit today because as I've said many times before, we don't sit to become calm or to become relaxed. That's not the main thing. We're sitting to train the mind, and we're training the mind to do something very specific, which is have a broad sense of awareness that can feel what is happening inside of you, so that when you walk around and you feel like, oh, I feel this, and then you react with anger towards someone saying something, or just the way they look, you react with anger. You're driving traffic and someone cuts in front of you and you feel that feeling like that. Normally you wouldn't even reflect on that. You just think, oh, they did something, I'm going to react this way. I have a reason to do that. It's founded. It's not like I'm just making this stuff up. I have a reason they did this. I'm angry, and that's okay. So we're trying to feel that distortion, that pushing and that pulling towards whatever people do towards you, and then stop that so we don't get too carried away with it. But instead we can stop and feel and say, oh, something's happening here, and you can actually choose how are you going to react to that thing that happened to you. Sometimes that means that you'll honk the horn and be like flash your lights because they did something dangerous, but you can also do that without being angry. So for those of you who are new, we start with a little bit of discussion like this, and then after that we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is that we say 5 things out aloud that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea here is that we want to slow down and get into our senses. We want to just see what we see. We don't want to have any emotional connection towards it or start interpreting and making up stories. We're just seeing what we see. We see colors, we see shapes, we see shadows, textures, surfaces, and shapes, and we just observe what it is that we see. But we try to not involve any sense of I trying to control what it is that we see. Instead, it's just an observation. And then after we've done that, we sit for 20 minutes and we have a question and answer or discussion after, if there's any questions, or we just go to bed early. We can do that also. On Monday, there's a guided meditation, but today we just sit by ourselves. So you can do whatever technique you want to. So I'll start out saying aloud 5 things that I can see, and you can say with me. Try to say it out aloud if you can. If not, it's perfectly fine to just say it for yourself as well. So I see a little reflection in the lens. I see silvery buttons. I see a Velcro band, Velcro strip, maybe it's called. I see a lamp with lots of dots on it. And I see the number 16 lit up. So those were 5 things that I can see. And now we do 4 things that we can feel. Again, it's not about saying 4 things, it's about really stopping and feeling. So if you just do 1 and do that properly, that's much better than doing 15. So I feel the texture of the carpet. I feel a sticker on my thermos. I feel my nose. And I feel my teacup. Those are 4 things that I could feel, and now we go to hearing. So 3 things that we can hear, and really try to listen. Sometimes there's a sound within the sound. Maybe there's a rhythmic sound within the noise that you hear, or maybe there is some more distant sound. So don't necessarily take the first sound that you can hear, but really try to listen and become aware of what you're experiencing through your hearing. I hear the wind against the walls of my office. It's a very soft sound. Hear the sound of a car driving by, the engine. I hear something blowing against the window. So 3 things that we could hear. And then we take 2 things that we can smell. There's a sweet smell. It smells like caramel. I can smell wet. Something that's wet. Wet clothes, maybe. And finally, we take 1 thing that we can taste. taste something spicy. If you're having a nice sitting, feel free to keep on sitting. Ask questions if you have them, or just drink a cup of tea. Hey Beast. Hola, ciao, hello, konnichiwa. The same, Jack. Always nice. Anyone have anything they'd like to share from the meditation? Something that came up? We talk a lot about different stuff or issues we have, but there's also a lot of things, of course, that come up during the meditation. And if you have any questions like that, we can absolutely talk about that as well. Jack had some new books. Nice. Anything interesting? I tend to not read spiritual books anymore. I haven't done that in years. I like sci-fi books or fantasy books or other stuff, but I haven't read much spiritual stuff. Beast has something here. In my meditation, I always try to focus on my crown chakra, but I can't focus properly. My head starts spinning. So when you focus on specific points inside your body, it can move things around and things can happen. The kind of meditation that I propose is to not focus on specific areas only. We want it to be a wide awareness. We're aware of what's happening inside of us. It can also be during different times. I have a lot of pressure in my head sometimes in specific areas, and if I focus on that, it's like that just builds and becomes harder and harder and harder. And that's not always the best thing to do. It can be better to just focus on a wider area. And the thing is, when you have a wide focus of awareness, these kind of things, they tend to lessen and to loosen themselves up. But you also do go through weird stuff that happens, like aches and pains and pulls, and like sometimes your body is going to be just twisting like this, or you'll have like the head going like this, or jaws, and there's all kinds of weird things that can come up. I think I can't handle the pressure, and you start spinning. Yeah, so then if it gets really bad, you can open your eyes. Then you can always do walking meditation as well. But if the pressure is too high, sometimes I've had it like this insane migraine when I was really worried that I'd have an aneurysm in my brain, that something would just pop, because there was so much. Oh my goodness, the pain was insane. I couldn't really, like, it's just flashing lights. And just take a break. I don't, I mean, at that time I meditated a lot, like the whole day pretty much. So then I just took a break. I tried to eat a burger or something really fat, some heavy food. I tried to take a shower or something that just distracted me and stopped me from doing this. But if you feel pressure in your crown chakra, I would focus somewhere else. Again, I propose a wide, I don't like this kind of focus when I'm meditating. I want a wide focus of awareness. I see JVB. Hello. When meditating, I see images of waves ebbing and flowing. And then physically I sway left to right in sync with the waves I see. Am I meditating correctly? That sounds more like concentration meditation, when you're trying to lull yourself into this calmness and you're focusing on something, and that can be something you see or like a wave. That would work. That kind of meditation would tend to make you calm and relaxed, but you wouldn't really be aware of the things coming up inside of you in the same way. But again, people say this is right, this is wrong. It all depends on what you want to do. If you want to become calm and relaxed, then that's probably a very good thing to do. Mats, I'll head out early today. Thanks for sitting. Pleasure as always. Have a good one. You too, Mats. Jack, Mark Twain collection is brilliant. Oh, nice. I never read Mark Twain, actually. Actually, maybe I did. Catcher in the Rye, is that him? B, sometimes I also hear things that I can't comprehend. Yeah, there can be... Sometimes there's voices and you hear echoes, and you can hear, can be like banging sound that comes up, like really loud things, and there's all kinds of weird stuff. Again, this depends on what you want to do. Some people like to cultivate those things. They consider them magic. And I always saw that as a waste of time, because if you figured out how to do that and hear something that wasn't there, then you're going to get caught up in the idea of, okay, am I listening to an actual physical place somewhere? Am I making this up in my mind? Is it an hallucination? Is it the past, the future, the present, another dimension, another planet, another me? I mean, it just doesn't really lead to anything useful, at least from what we're trying to do here. So I don't spend any time analyzing those things. I just note, oh, okay, I'm hearing something that isn't here, and then I focus on what's happening here, and usually my breath. So yeah, I don't spend any effort on things like that. Jack, Mysterious Stranger has become one of my top 50 books, like immediately. Nice. Obama from Old Burma. Pain always helped me focus my meditation. Yeah, pain can be a really good point to focus on, because it's sharp and it's always there. But it's also very small and narrow, so I try to widen. I know in the Burmese traditions, they actually go in and look at the pain and try to break it apart. That's not how I practice now, but that is one way of doing it for sure. Beast, very true. Mindful Mama. After a yin yoga class today, I had many moments of low distortions, so nice and soft. But I want more of that. Is that in a way of my practice, because it's another pull? That's a good question. So when you start noticing that life is much more enjoyable when there's less of you there, when there's less of you reacting towards the world, when there's less of you needing something specific from the world, or needing the world to be a specific way, and you see that that is just so much more enjoyable than to walk around with this constant tugging everywhere, even though sometimes it doesn't even feel like tugging, but there is a pressure on this sense of you. But when you experience life with a lessened sense of you, and you see that that is so much nicer to live life like that, then there's a tendency to want to experience that again. And that's actually something we use. So when you start seeing, okay, this is what it's like to walk around and not distort towards everything, then you start doing the technique where you ask yourself, like, so how am I doing right now? And if you're not doing well, if you're not enjoying being there, then you ask yourself, why not? And you look backwards in time and you'll see that, oh, okay, well, actually it was because my kids said this, or they were annoying, so now I'm hurting myself because of what they did. And then when you look at that and realize that, okay, you only have this moment. This is the only moment you have. There's never going to be another moment. Sure, it moves, but it's still just this moment. So you're going to wait until this moment is another this moment before you allow yourself to feel good, or are you going to allow yourself to feel good now, despite what happened before? I mean, that's difficult to do in the actual situation, but when you learn to let go of that distortion, the difficult situations don't become difficult in the same way anymore. You still have this thing you need to solve. The kids don't want to have their socks on, or the kids cry and want to watch TV or whatever they want to do. That is still going to be there, but the feeling of that distortion will lessen and disappear. And then you come into this, okay, you still need to take action without that distortion, and that's remarkably easy to do and effortless once you understand that you don't need to do this. But before that happens, it can be quite strange to get that that's actually a nice thing to do, because we believe we need that feeling to do something. So yeah, that's a good point. I see that as a good thing. In other words, like when you see that and you want to come back to that, then you start understanding, okay, I need to trade this sense of me for this. I need to trade this away. I need to give this up. And that is something that the self doesn't want to do, when it's inherently difficult to do. It's resisting to do that. Andreas is saying, if I understand you correctly, meditating is learning to accept and observe what you feel in your body, regardless of whether it's a good or a bad feeling. Simplified, kind of, yeah. Kind of, yeah. Let me see if I can put it in another way. Meditating, you're saying that meditating is learning to accept and observe what you feel in your body, regardless. So it's basically, let me take something simple. Okay, so every time you drive to work, you get out of your driveway and you reverse, and there's always like a dog poop on the, like when you drive out. Someone lets their dog poop like outside your driveway for some reason, and you feel that and you go, oh, that's so irritating. How can they do that? How can they let their dogs poop outside of my driveway? Why don't they just learn to not have their dog poop there? And you drive out and you feel, oh, if you feel this distortion, you feel like, oh, that's not nice, I'm angry. And you go to work and you go thinking about that goddamn dog. Like, oh, I can't believe they did that. And then you tell your colleagues, like, do you know what my neighbor, whoever, I don't know who it is, but they keep letting their dog poop there. And I'm so irritated at this. And you go around and you ruin your whole day. And every day is like that. And then you realize that the next day, the same thing happens again. So you see that, and then it's like, oh, I can't believe they did this. So when you've felt this for a while, you start feeling this, it gets almost like you have a fever and it's difficult and it's painful. And then eventually, when you've suffered enough, you go, oh, well, this is kind of silly. This is a dumb thing to do. I'm hurting myself. And then you stop hurting yourself, because it's painful to be angry at that dog who pooped there. Now, positive thinking or many spiritual approaches, I will say that, well, actually, it wasn't a dog, it was a fox. So you can't be angry at a fox because it's not a human who had their dog and pooped there. So you don't need to be angry about this. Or it could be that the person who walks the dog is blind. So it's actually a blind dog. I mean, one of those. And then you go, oh, okay, I don't need to feel angry about it because obviously the blind person. Then you're making up an excuse as to why not to feel bad. I am saying you observe this distortion and you feel this is not nice. Why am I doing this? And you let go of doing that. And when you let go of that, that's actually the sense of self. And you have that pressure towards all things around you. But by constantly seeking and asking yourself, how do I do it right? How am I feeling right now? How am I doing? And looking for a sense of effortlessness, of enjoyment, of happiness, or I say being in a good mood, then you're constantly going to be touching this self that says, no, you're not allowed to feel good because there was someone, and you have this whole story about that person who let their dog poop outside your driveway. And so you have to constantly face that and see that there's something inside of you reacting. Just letting go of that. So, yeah, basically what you said, but not exactly that simple. Jack, I wish all participants good night. Take care. You too, Jack. Mindful Mama. So it's just continue practicing these things over and over again. Yeah, and the more you do it, the more you run into things and you see that, oh, I've seen this thing before, and then the more you touch that thing, the less it's going to hurt you. It's the same we do naturally when we grow up, when you're young and someone looks at you, and it's so important how we look and how the hair looks, and then if it doesn't look that way, it's so difficult. But then as we grow older, you kind of let go of that because, you know, it's not so important anymore. But when you were younger, it really was, or something happened and it was really bad in the beginning, and then it lessens and lessens. So it's the same thing. It's we look at these things, and over time, you learn, hopefully, to let go of things. But some old people don't. They get angry and grumpy. So, yeah. Mindful Mama, a very good example. It's so much I am entitled to feel like this, and I even want to feel this way by telling my colleagues. I want their reaction and confirmation to allow myself to feel even more. Yes, that's so true. That's so true. I like your explanation. I'm entitled to feel this way. My father, he was absolutely terrible at this. He liked getting angry. He liked getting really fired up. Oh, those bastards. And he was so angry. He was never violent or anything, but he enjoyed that fight, kind of. Usually with like salespeople on the phone or people who sold him something and it didn't live up to his expectations. Something like really silly stuff. But he really liked that feeling because it makes us feel alive. And it's kind of like, oh, I like to feel alive by cutting myself. Some people actually do that, which is terrible. But it's the same thing. We hurt ourselves and it makes us feel the strong polarity. And when you let go of that and allow yourself to feel enjoyment despite that thing, it doesn't take away the issue, the situation, but it forces you to go in and poke at this sense of self, because you have to let go of that to enjoy now when something like that happens. JVB, you know what's interesting? As I sway with the waves, I see thoughts and feelings I may have suppressed some earlier time come up, and I give them their proper time to acknowledge them. Sure. You're welcome, Mindful Mama. Did that make it clear, Andreas? My example of the pooping dog? And so it's learning to accept and observe what you feel in your body. And then after you learn to do that, you learn to enjoy. That's the main thing. It's just that we need those other things also. But ultimately what we're trying to do is to enjoy the sensations that we're experiencing, not the situation. So we're not trying to enjoy what's actually happening from the story perspective. We're trying to enjoy the actual feelings. And a very good example is when you're making love with someone. You can have this sort of like, wow, I'm with this amazing woman and she's incredibly beautiful, and you can have this whole story and I can't believe that she's with me and we're together and we're lying here naked, and they'll be like, wow, that's incredible. And you're completely missing actually feeling, touching, smelling and tasting and just being with another human being and feeling skin against skin. You're missing the experience because you're caught up in the story. So you're trying to not enjoy stories, but enjoy experiences. Yes, I like how that sounds. We're learning to not enjoy the stories, but to learn to enjoy the experience instead. Because when you're making up stories, or this whole thing, this happened to me, or this is so nice because they're with me, whatever it is, then that's the story you're trying to feel good about. I'm saying don't do that, because that involves a sense of self. Instead, enjoy the actual experience of what you're experiencing. Mindful Mama, I like to add to your explanation towards Andreas is that you are meditating to be aware or become more aware, so you can take that with you in your daily life when many more distortions come up. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's one thing to do it here now, but actually you should do that. Well, we're aiming to do it 24/7. Not when we're sleeping, but the rest of the time. Beast, we are missing the experience because we want to take pictures rather than being in the moment. Yes, do you know that feeling, Beast? When you see something so beautiful, there's a sunset, and you're like, wow, this sunset is amazing. And you look and you're like, oh, I need to take a photo. And you take up your camera and you photograph, and it just doesn't, I mean, you're catching the sunset, but it just, must be my camera. I need a better camera because I can't capture it. And what we don't realize that the thing that you're enjoying is not like the whole story behind it. It's the actual, you're letting go of the sense of self, and you're experiencing and enjoying your senses. They're always there. They're always putting up things, but we can't really enjoy them for what they are, because there's a sense of self, a distortion, a knot, a pressure, something that makes life not effortless, that makes life difficult, that makes life into this thing we need to that we can somehow fail at, instead of just seeing, oh, I'm just experiencing now, and experiencing without that. constant judging or distortion towards things is incredible. It's really, it's heaven on earth, because all of a sudden everything is beautiful, because you're no longer thinking, oh, this sofa is old, so I can't enjoy it, and it should look different, or I don't like that. It's everything is beautiful when you look at it without a sense of distortion, a sense of self. And if you look at children, they do this so well when they're younger. And I have seen it. I have 2 children, 5.5 and 2 years old, and I've seen how they started getting distortion. The oldest one, she's 5.5, and she, oh my goodness, she's completely lost with that now. And the youngest one, I could see him from going around and touching everything and being so mesmerized with the world to like, now I want it like this, or it needs to be like this. And if it's not like it's something we naturally do as babies, infants, and then it gets more difficult. My phone, I had that today, beast, beautiful sunset, and I wanted to take a picture. I was aware, but still watched it. I guess if it works, it works, says JVB. Snapped out of that enjoyment at once. Yeah, and that's the thing also, when we try to photograph it, we also lose the experience. Because then we're trying to make this story. We want to take the photo and then post it on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Maybe it's Snapchat, maybe that's something else. Yeah, we just try to share it, and instead of just enjoying that experience. Not to say we can't take photos and we can't share our experiences. It's just that it would be good for most people to practice just enjoying the experience instead of trying to capture the story and the whole thing around it, and just be there. Just look at how beautiful the lights are, and really learn to sink into that feeling of experiencing, seeing that, wow, this light is really... Because what we do is we see this beautiful sunset, and then we want to do something with it. We want to capture it. We want to take a photo of it. We want to tell someone, instead of just sitting still or just standing up and just looking at these shapes of the colors of the shadows, how they're different when it's a sunset or sunrise. They're longer, and you can see the trees, and just become enthralled and interested in reality around you, your experience. Not the story, oh my goodness, it's a beautiful sunset, I need to capture it, I need to take this with me, I can't believe it. So like, that's all stories. Can you see the difference of the two ways of looking at it? Well, there's, JVB, I thought about hiring a personal photographer to follow me around, and the picture for me as a fully experienced I am in. Yeah, because then you wouldn't have to take the photo yourself. Nice. Amen to that. My mama says, bedtime for me. I'll enjoy the sunset tomorrow and observe the urge to take a picture. It's actually really good to do that, to put yourself in situations when you feel this urge and not follow it. When I was a monk, I remember I was staying at my local handlus, my teacher's place, the center he had, and it was New Year, and I love fireworks. I've always enjoyed fireworks. And I was lying in bed, and I thought, I'm going to lie here and listen to the fireworks. I'm not going to go out, even though I always want to go and see the firework. I never want to miss it. So I think this was my first or my second year, and I laid in bed, and I could hear like... In Sri Lanka, they have loads of fireworks, and there was like this crescendo just a few minutes before, and like I could hear it, like, and then it was like 12, I guessed at least, and I heard just like explosions, and I could feel my body like, oh, I should get up and go and listen. What? No, stay down. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but there was this distortion pulling me towards, oh, I need to go out. I need to go and listen to this. I can't. I'm missing this incredible experience. What is my life going to be like if I miss this? And we have that with things, I miss this thing. Like, oh, I can't believe it. My life is ruined. I miss going to this concert. I can't believe I missed this thing. Or my baby took its first step and I missed those steps. Oh my God. And again, we're caught up in these stories instead of experiencing. I was lying there and I was experiencing it. I was very comfortable and it was warm. And I was listening and hearing sounds, and then I thought, no, it's not enough to do that. I need to be out there. Again, this doesn't mean you can't go and enjoy looking at fireworks, but it can be good sometimes to refrain from experiencing everything you think you need to, and look at the distortions you have when you don't get what you think you need, what you want. Andreas, but to accept the way things are without reacting with negative emotion, isn't that like letting go of the matter? I mean, the event or the feeling. Yes, feeling, absolutely. Event or let me read that again. But to accept the way things are without reacting with negative emotion, isn't that like, okay, so it's not without reacting with negative emotion or positive emotion. It's about letting the negative emotion come up fully and seeing that there's nothing there. So we're not talking about denial, it's a really good question. And I'm happy you asked it because it's something that people get wrong many times. I'm not saying don't feel. I'm not saying push that down or avoid feeling it. What I'm saying is look at what it feels like. So say there's a negative emotion towards missing the fireworks, and I feel that negative emotion. I could say, if the Buddhist way would be like, okay, this is all like this is just like a dream, and not a dream. This is just bad. I shouldn't be trapped by the Mara and reality and all the things that I want and need. Like those are just dumb things. Just let go of that and then focus on the holy life of being a monk. You cannot just saying like, oh, that's not real. Like I should focus on this instead. I'm saying let that come up. Feel what it feels like to lie still and feel I need to go and look at those fireworks. And don't deny them saying like, oh, it's vain. You shouldn't look at them. They're bad. They're evil. There's no fulfillment in watching them. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying look what it feels like to need to go and look at the fireworks. And then when you can let go of that feeling and just feel it, just let it come up and then see there's nothing there. It's just you creating this tension and it kind of builds up and then it fizzles out. And then it comes up again and you struggle with this a few times and then eventually go, oh, well, this is kind of dumb. And then you let go of it. And then you can really go and enjoy, because then you'll see the not because of, I need to see this thing and there's all this strong distortion towards it. It's just you experiencing reality. But then reality will be just as enjoyable lying in the bed as going outside and watching the fireworks. But you might like fireworks, so you'll go outside and watch them. Not because you need to, not because you're worried to miss something, but because you truly just find that a good use of your time. So we're not denying, we're not pushing anything down. We're letting it come up and seeing that that is painful, the need, the desire. Beast, no one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It's founded on our thoughts and made up of our thoughts. If a man speak or acts with an evil thought, suffering follows him as the wheel follows the hoof of the... Andreas, to accept and observe that I feel the way I do regardless of whether it's bad or good, that what I feel is okay. To accept and observe that I feel the way I do regardless of whether it's bad or good, that what I feel is okay. In a way, yes. And then when you see that, you turn towards joy and enjoyment. In other words, you believe you need reality to be a certain way to feel enjoyment. So you think you need a story. I need to have this thing. I need to not have that thing to feel enjoyment. So it's going beyond that. And but we're feeling, oh, I need to do that. And then you think that if I can have that thing, there's going to be some kind of fulfillment, something at the end of that thing that will give me some sense of enjoyment. And when you've done that enough times, you'll see that, okay, that never ends. There's actually never a long-term fulfillment from anything you can be, do, or have. And doing that over and over and seeing that this is kind of a futile thing to do, then you turn towards actually experiencing your senses, actually being there. So when a lot of people, what they do is they go and see these big things and they're not even there. They're like in their mind taking Snapchats, photos and stuff instead of actually experiencing it. And they need to see something bigger, something worse. Or I sometimes tell a story of, I remember so well, a nature program. It was maybe it was a funny program or something, and it was a guy who was watching a whale. I don't know if it was a blue whale or something, and he came up to the boat and he was with a video camera like, oh my God, did you see? I can't believe it. That's insane. Wow. Oh my, Betty, did you see the whale? And it was like this. And I remember looking at that and I thought, oh my goodness, what an idiot. I've never seen a whale like that, but I thought he was so silly. And then when I started saying this, like, wait a minute, I'm the one who's the idiot here. He's actually enjoying, thinking it's amazing what he just saw. I'm saying, oh, I've seen so much stuff because I've traveled and been to so many places. This is not a huge thing. Like, I'm the dumb person here. I'm the one who can't enjoy seeing. I can't even enjoy seeing another person enjoying this thing because I'm so caught up in my stories. This is a very long time ago, but I remember it was long before I became a monk. But I remember it still because it was one of the first times when I realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm actually ruining my own enjoyment by all these ideas of what I have, and like I don't need to see more. I need to see bigger, better things. It's not enough just to go to the beautiful park over there. I need to go to the beautiful park on the other side of the planet. It's not enough just to see the beautiful bird in my garden. I need to go to the other side of the planet or deep in an ocean to see a fish. We have all these ideas that to allow myself to feel enjoyment, I need to go over there. So it's seeing these things and letting them come up, whether they're good or bad, and just seeing them and accepting them. Oh, they're there and they're actually hurting me. And then turning towards enjoyment. That's like the main thing. And there's another thing in that also that I don't speak so much about because it can be interpreted in so many ways, but it's not doing harm. In other words, I don't try to harm other people through my actions, but also through hurting them with my words, because that's really counter to what we're trying to do. That's a sense of self that wants to hurt someone else. It really doesn't mix with this. So at the same time as you're doing this, if you're doing something to hurt someone else, that's something that I can tell you for sure is kicking you out of experiencing reality as it is with the sense of self, because that is something that pushes towards something. So we try to enjoy and make sure we don't hurt other beings as much as we can. Beast, there's no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Yeah. Nice. It's getting late, as usual. Always nice discussions. I like the questions, Andreas. And nice to go in and look at this, because it really, when you start asking these questions, you run up against so many obstacles. You're like, I couldn't just enjoy being happy. How can I be happy when this thing is so bad? Or there's all these thoughts. Or who would I be if I didn't feel bad about this thing over there? And separating, understanding that you don't need to feel bad to take action is one of the big parts in here. Buenas noches. Sayonara Samara. Good night, Martin. Good night, Beast. Thank you for tonight, and I'll wish you all a happy weekend, and I'll see you again on Monday. Thank you.